thing that we spend most time on a Sunday doing is not preaching, it's not praying, but is singing. We gather once a week as a church family, and we choose to use most of our time together to sing. I mean, why? It's not like it's something that people do all the rest of the week, is it? Where nowadays do people sing other than at church? People don't really sing down the pub anymore, do they? I guess the only other place they might sing is at the football, although not at Leicester City at the moment. I told you there were more Leicester jokes coming, didn't I? They're not singing, and it's Leicester City at the moment, are they? Anyway, it might be that the only other place that we sing is down at the football or the rugby. So why do we then come to church on a Sunday in a country where people don't really sing that much and spend half an hour, 40 minutes singing songs? Think of all the other things we could be doing. We could be out feeding people. We could be spending time having a group Bible study together. Why is it that we spend so long singing? We've got 1 hour a week and we spend most of it singing. And I mean, I'll give you an insight. This is a lovely church family. There are never any complaints. But knowing other vicars in other places, I can assure you that the songs that we sing are the greatest cause of complaints in a church's life. You've got half of people telling you, we're far too old-fashioned and traditional, we'll never attract young people. The other half telling you, we're far too modern. Unless we have a robed choir, everyone will leave. You see, songs create all sorts of hassle. A lot of people might just say, why do we bother? Why do we bother? No one really sings at home. It causes a load of complaints. There's other things we could be doing. Why bother singing? Well, I think that our passage from Paul's letter to the Colossians tells us, I think it gives us two reasons why we should be singing. I want to look at those. I want to then think about some practical ways in which we can make the most of singing on a Sunday, things we can be doing personally that will help us to enjoy our singing together more. So Paul said, let the word of Christ dwell in you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom, and as you sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs with gratitude in your hearts to God. Lots of long words in there. It's a bit complicated. Let's try and break it down a bit. Firstly, we sing for us. We sing for us. Paul says, let the word of Christ dwell in you richly as you sing. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly as you sing. Why are we here today, this particular group of people? It's not because we have hobbies in common or we're part of the same club. No, the reason we're here today is because we've all come to hear a particular message. And for those of us who are members of the regular church family, it's because we believe that message. The word of Christ, Paul calls it, that the message about Jesus, that God sent his son Jesus to die on a cross so that we could be forgiven. And the point of singing is to help that message about Jesus dwell richly in our hearts, help us to understand it and believe it and put it into practice. Well, how does singing do that? Well, firstly, we said it earlier, didn't we? It helps our memory. Now, if I gave you a long list of important facts about Jesus, you may or may not remember them. I would guess that by the middle of the week, you would have forgotten half of them. If I write those in a way that rhymes and has a tune, well, that's going to stick, isn't it? We all know our God is a great big God because we know the tune. You see, we're here to hear about Jesus and a message about him, and it's a great way to remember that message, to sing songs that help it get into our head and stay there. We remember the words to In Christ Alone. We think carefully about the songs that we choose. We choose songs that will help us to understand what's said in the sermon. We choose songs that say good things about Jesus and not things that aren't true. And that means you can be confident as you learn the songs that we keep singing week by week, you're learning a storehouse of wonderful and true information about Jesus. You're learning things about what he did. And I guess it might be that those are the last things that stick in our mind when we forget everything else. I heard a wonderful story today of someone who, as they lost their memory of everything else, could still sing hymns. They lost, in fact, the ability to even speak. But the hymns, the words of those songs stuck in their head, and they could still belt them out with the best of them. What a wonderful way to help that message dwell richly in our hearts to remember it. More than that, songs help us to express our emotion. Even emotionally retarded and backward people like me are helped to express their emotion by singing. Ask me to write a Valentine's Day card and I'm a bit lost, but even I can sing a song. Now, I guess if you went down to the Leicester City football, went down to King Power, and everyone said, I think we're an awfully good team, and that wasn't a great decision by the referee, you would think, well, hang on a moment, you don't really mean it, do you? But if you hear everyone in full voice singing, and it's Leicester City, you know that it's coming from their heart. They're expressing something that runs deeper. It's not just a fact in their head that Leicester are the best team in the world. No, it's something they believe emotionally in their heart. And that's why they sing. We sing things that we really mean. And when we sing them, it helps us to mean them. Now, we have to remember that in the Christian life, it's like a train. And the train is pulled along by facts. Your feelings will go up and down. What really matters is the facts about Jesus. Facts are the driving force. It's the truths about who Jesus is, which is why we pick the songs that we choose. Now, we could just sing songs all morning that say, we love you, Jesus, we love you, Jesus, we love you, Jesus. But the problem is, that would just be expressing our emotion. No, we sing songs that give you the facts about Jesus, but as we sing them, we don't just sing those facts in a kind of, isn't it great that Jesus died for us kind of a way? No, we sing them as if we mean them. That the facts pull along the train, but they bring the feelings, the emotions with them. You see, the Bible's wonderfully even gives us songs to sing when we're feeling pretty miserable. This morning, John was down in Cossington preaching on Psalm 88, the last words of which are, darkness is my only friend. Now there's a miserable song for you, but God put it in the Bible because he wants us to be able to express all our emotions, not just the good ones. Again, we're careful to choose songs that hopefully everyone can sing. One, because we're singing facts about Jesus, and it doesn't matter if you've had a rubbish week, Jesus is still who Jesus is. But more than that, we hope we sing songs that everyone can sing and join in with. Whatever kind of week we're having, however ill we might be, however difficult our relationships might be, we can still sing because we're singing truths about Jesus, and we're picking songs that we can still mean emotionally. So it helps us to remember things about Jesus, to remember the message about Jesus. It helps us to feel the right things, the right emotions about Jesus. And also it helps us to build community. Here's the wonderful thing about singing. This morning, there's lots of different people here. There's men and women, there's adults and children, there's good singers, and people like me who are not so good singers. Now take any one of us, even the best singer on their own, and their voice might sound great, but put them with other singers, and they sound even better. Together, our singing is greater than the sum of its parts. Your singing on its own, however good a singer you are, is not as good, doesn't sound as good as all of us singing together. And that helps us to understand the message about Jesus. See, part of that message is that Jesus came and died in your place for your sins so that you could be part of a new family and have brothers and sisters. And that family will be greater than the sum of its parts. And as we sing together, and our voices, which on their own are imperfect or weak or not quite right, join together to make a beautiful sound. That's reminding us more of what Jesus has done for us and who he's made us in God's family. So why do we sing? Well, first of all, we sing for our own sake. We sing because it helps the message about Jesus to get into our hearts. It helps us to remember the facts. It helps us to mean those facts as we sing them rather than just say them. And it helps us to remember that we don't just believe these things one by one, but as a family, as a church family who are more than the sum of our parts. Secondly, we sing for God's sake. We sing for ourselves and we sing for God. Paul says, sing with gratitude in your hearts to God. Sing with gratitude in your hearts to God. Sing is a great way of saying thank you. When I was growing up, I was forced after Christmas to write thank you letters. As it seemed to me then, about 400 of them, mostly for presents I had never even wanted in the first place. Socks, wonderfully, my great aunt bought me a kaleidoscope for my 14th birthday. And I would have to I'd be sat down by my mother at a desk with a pile of writing paper, and my list that I've been made to draw up of what I've been given by who, and I'd have to work through and write a thank you letter to everyone, address all the envelopes and send them off. I had a system for doing this. I would have about 7 sentences I would rotate in, making sure I changed enough words that if any of my relatives were to compare the letters, they wouldn't be able to realize I just had a system that kind of worked for them. Please don't do this. This is wrong in many ways. Nowadays, the equivalent, I guess, would be copying and pasting. I probably could have sorted out an Excel spreadsheet to do it for me, but then I had to do it all by hand. I would have my list of my sentences. I'd then mix them in to write the thank you letters. Well, clearly, I didn't really mean it, did I? I mean, I was just going through the motions. I was writing these letters, and I didn't really mean to say thank you because I wasn't really grateful. Why do we sing on Sunday? Because we really are grateful to God. We really do want to say thank you. I could say happy birthday to someone, but how much better for us all to sing together, happy birthday. Singing shows that this is the sort of thing we sing about. The message about Jesus isn't some dull message about someone who died 2,000 years ago and taught some nice things about how to be nice to people. No, this is a message that should fill our hearts with joy and make us want to sing. It's not like sitting writing those thank you letters. Thank you for the thing I never wanted. No, we really are grateful, really are thankful. Well, I hope that's honest enough about why we should be singing. We sing for ourselves to help us remember, feel, share the message about Jesus. We sing because we're singing to God to say thank you, and he deserves all the thanks we can give. Deserves us belting it out, to be quite honest, as we say thank you to him in song. Okay, how can we make the most of singing then? Some practical tips for you as to make the most of singing. I should really have invited up a singer, shouldn't I? I feel like I have more to offer as someone who's not a singer. The singer could come and give you great advice on the technicalities of singing. I can tell you here, from one fellow sufferer to others, as someone who can't sing very well, here's some things I think which will help. And firstly, don't be embarrassed. And please, no one is going to judge you for your singing. I remember once I was singing in church, and I'd left the microphone off mute during a hymn. And I saw the ministry assistants in that church run across the back of the church saying, turn it down, as the whole church could hear me singing it at full belt, clearly enjoying myself, but no one else was. Please, don't be embarrassed by your singing. Apart from else, you probably will sing better if you're not embarrassed. Also remember who you're singing for, ultimately for God. Also remember you're not singing alone. You're not singing a solo like I sometimes do at weddings and funerals. No, we are singing together, and even if your voice is a little bit wonky, not all the notes are in the right place or in the right order, it will be fine. With 100 or so of us, it will be fine. Please don't be embarrassed about singing. Belt them out because you really mean it. And secondly, please don't just sing on Sundays. Don't just sing on Sundays. Now, if we only sing once a week, it's no surprise if our singing's not great, is it? Or if we're a bit embarrassed when we do it and it feels a bit odd. And please sing every day. If you're here with your family, please sing with your family every day as part of your family worship, your family prayers. Wouldn't it be great to sing a few simple songs? We delight to sing every morning with Jemima and every evening before we go to bed, to sing songs to God. It's not always pretty, I'm going to be honest. If you think I'm bad, you should hear Jemima. No offense, she's not here, don't worry. But she is only 3. But please do sing every day. But you might be thinking to yourself, but Tom, I live on my own. To which my response is, great, you can sing even louder on your own at home, can't you? Because there's no one else to hear. Especially if maybe someone's gone out to work, you can really sing in the shower to Jesus, can't you? Now, do sing every day. If you sing every day, then it will seem less weird than a Sunday. It's also a great way to practice songs that we sing. Third, please do prepare for singing. Well, how can you do that? Well, it might be as simple as we sing some of the same songs quite a lot. I'm going to be honest with you, partially to help us remember them so that we can really mean them because we know the words in the back of our mind. Why not practice a song at home? Or why not go onto the internet and print it out? And please do read your Bible first every day. But it might be that for a week you look at a particular song and meditate on and reflect on the wonderful truths that are in it so that next time we sing it in church, which will probably be quite soon, you'll mean it all the more. And finally, do most of all be thankful. The best way to enjoy singing is to really mean what you're singing. We're not just saying, "Tar Jesus, thank you for that." No, we are singing with gratitude, which is so deep and infinite that it will never be exhausted. We're doing what we're going to be doing literally forever. There's lots of things we do now that we won't do in heaven, like work, for example. But there are some things we do now that we will do forever, and singing is one of them. And so please do be really grateful for what Jesus did, that he was willing to die for you even while you weren't his friend, so that you could be his friend and part of his family, that he's given you wonderful brothers and sisters sat all around us, people who you might not have ever met were it not for the fact that we follow Jesus, and yet now we've been made one family with them. What a great reason to sing. There's some practical tips for you. Please, do make the most of our singing for your own sake, for God's sake. Please do think through. What to say as well, one thing on being prepared. It's worth always thinking about what we're doing on a Saturday night and a Sunday morning. Our voices can be in their best feta. Maybe get to that bed that hour or two earlier, not have that drink, whatever it might be, that you know will finish your throat off. Get the Lemsip out on Sunday morning. Act as if we take singing seriously, because we really do. Because it's really one of the most wonderful things we do each week. That's why we spend so long doing it. Let me pray for us. Say thank you to God that we can sing. Ask that he would help us as we sing in the months ahead. Let's pray. Father, thank you that you've given us the wonderful gift of voices with which we can sing. You could have made a world without music, without song, and yet you didn't. Because you delight, you love it when we sing. Please help us to sing then without embarrassment and with a deep gratitude in our hearts to you. Please, as we sing together, we remember that you've made us a family, brothers and sisters, more than we could ever be on our own. Help us to remember above all what Jesus did for us in dying on the cross. In his name we pray. Amen.